Hey, good morning. This is Becky Williams. I am the proud owner of Full On Purpose, and I'm so happy that you joined me today for Word Up Wednesday. As a continuation of last week, I'm going to be talking about the book, The Key to Your Child's Heart by Gary Smalley. I have been reading through this book, and especially with school coming up, I really want to focus on my kids because I only have a little bit of time left with them. And so I've been reading this book and just getting a little insight. And I will tell you, today's topic really hit me hard in looking at the way that I parent and the way that I talk to my kids, the way that I discipline my kids. And so today I want to just share that information with you. Today's topic is going to be on the 4 different types of parenting. Of course, there's different kinds, but this is going to be the 4 basic types. Okay, so the first 3 are going to be ones that we probably have done at some point. And the last one is going to be what we strive for as parents, who to be. And so I'm going to give you, at the very end, I'm going to give you the last 2 tips on how to be a good parent to your child. Okay, so here's number 1. The first one is the dominant parent. The dominant parent is the type of parent that tends to produce the most negative qualities in children. They typically have very high standards and expectations. They seldom offer warm, caring support, and they have really high expectations. They don't really give many explanations, okay? So this type of parent, this would be the kind of thing that this type of parent says, rules are rules, you're late to bed with no dinner. I won't stand for your back talk, apologize. You don't need reasons, just do what I say. I don't care how many friends will be there. You're not going, and I don't want to hear another word about it. Do you hear? No son of mine's going to goof off. You took that job, you get this done. Okay, so those are things that the dominant parent would say. And I have been guilty of saying some of those things to my kids, especially working at home, and they come in here, hey, this is your problem, you go fix it. Even though they're little, if it's something that I know that they can do on their own, I may say something like that. But listen to this. These are the possible reactions for children who grow up with dominant parents. They rank low in self-respect. They have little ability to conform to rules or authority. The rigid harshness of the parent breaks the spirit of the child and results in resistance, like clamming up or rebellion. The child usually does not want anything to do with his parents' rules or values and tends to reject the ideals of his parents. The child may be attracted to other children who rebel against the parents and general rules of society. The child may be loud and demanding of his rights, and in a classroom, he may be disruptive to others to gain attention. Okay, so I'm not sure if you can relate with any of these for the first type of parent, but we'll move on to the second. The second type of parent is the neglectful parent. Okay, neglectful parents tend to lack both loving support and control. So you're not being loving to your kids, you're kind of just there. Okay, so perhaps you work a lot of hours, you work long shifts and you're tired, or perhaps you have some type of issue to where you can't really interact with your kids as much. So this is the neglectful parent. Okay, they lack loving support and control over their kids. They show an uncaring or immature attitude. They lash out at the kids when they're pushed or they're irritated. These parents tend to isolate themselves from their children by excessive use of babysitters, so they can indulge in their own activities. Children are viewed as a bother to be seen and not heard. There are 4 main reasons why children are being neglected today. So here are a couple reasons for you. Number 1 is the high rate of divorce. Okay, we all know that this is something that has been spiraling out of control here lately, with over 50% of marriages fail. The increase of mothers in the workforce. Okay, so more than 50% of all mothers in the U.S. are working. It's greatly increased since the 1960s. Even if you're a work-at-home mom like I am, you still have obligations and things that you have to get done, so you're not necessarily able to take care of your kids. And I'm not saying that this is a bad thing. I'm just saying to have balance, and just stick with me to the end. I will be able to help you to know how to balance being a work-at-home mom or a work-at-home dad and still be able to be a good parent to your children. So hold on tight. I'm not done, okay? Also, number 3 is excessive television watching. There's an increase greatly in the 60s, and now more than 90% of homes at least have one television. The problem with television is that even though people are physically together, there's very little meaningful and emotional interaction. So I've been guilty of this. It's very simple and very easy for me to put my kids in front of Netflix or Hulu and let them just sit and watch something because they're being quiet. A lot of times if they're watching something educational, I feel like, oh, well, that's a good thing because they're learning things, right? Well, it's just because I feel bad that I'm not spending that time with them. And I understand that there is a place for that. Okay. So please don't feel like I'm bashing you as a parent if that's something that you have to do. I'm just saying be aware of the amount that you are putting your kids in front of the television and think about what the reasoning is. Is it because you have to work and this is just a season in your life to where this is necessary? Or is it because you're just tired and don't really want to deal with them? Just get down to the root of what the reasoning is and then decide what's best for your family. Also, an increasing mobile society, so more than 50% of Americans change addresses every 5 years. So this moving back and forth for families is another reason. Okay, here are some typical actions and statements made by neglectful parents. Work it out by yourself. I'm busy. No, I'm expected to be somewhere else tonight. Get your mom to help. No, you can't stay up late. Remember you wanted to stay up late? Get out of my hair. Good grief. Can't you kids be more careful? Okay, so these are... this type of parent is bothered by their kids. Okay, it just seems like they're always irritated that their kids are there, even if their kids aren't doing something wrong. Here are some possible side effects of children of neglectful parents. So the harshness and neglect tend to wound the spirit of a child, which usually results in rebellion. The neglect teaches the child that he is not worth spending time with. Isn't that sad? The child develops insecurity because his parents are never predictable. This is something that I realized with our kids, that they really need a little bit more structure than what Ken and I were giving them. We thought because they were little that they really didn't need that much of a schedule, but we were wrong on that. So we have implemented a little bit more of a schedule and can probably still be able to put this into a little bit tighter knit as well, just so that the kids know, okay, this is what we're going to do at these different times. Not that it won't ever change, but they can at least have that security of predictability with us. Your child may also not develop a healthy self-respect because he's not respected and has not learned to control himself. Broken promises break the spirit of a child and lower self-esteem. Okay, so that's the end of the second parent. All right, the third one is the permissive parent. Permissive parents tend to be warm. They tend to be supporting. So you have those things going, but they're weak in establishing and enforcing rules and limits for their children. I've been guilty of all three of these. I've also been guilty of this one, simply because sometimes I can understand why the kids did something, but regardless, I should have still followed through on my word if I gave it to them, simply to teach them, cause and effect. If you do this, then you get this, whether it's good or bad. So let's learn about the permissive spirit. Let's see. One of the major reasons why some parents are too permissive is an inner fear that they may damage their children if they are too strict. The fear of confronting their children may actually produce the very things that they fear. So these types of parents are concerned that if they are too rigid, that their kids are going to not be receptive of it, that they're going to be rebellious, that kind of thing. Over-permissiveness, on the other hand, allows for undesirable acts such as beating up other kids, marking on buildings, breaking objects. Okay, we saw a lot of this with rioting and things for people who don't have any respect for things or people around them. Okay, the following statements and actions are typical of a permissive parent. Well, okay, you can stay up late this time. I know how much you like this program. You're tired, aren't you? A paper route is tough. Sure, I'll take you. I hate to see you under all this pressure from school. Why not rest tomorrow? I'll say you're sick. So it's always stepping in and making an excuse for your child when things get hard. Please don't get angry with me. You're making a scene. Jimmy, please hurry. Mommy will be late if we don't start soon. Okay, these are possible reactions by children who have permissive parents. A child senses that he is in the driver's seat and can play the parent. Okay, a child develops a feeling of insecurity, like leaning against a wall that appears to be firm but falls over. A child may have little self-respect because he's not learned to control himself and master certain disciplines. And a child learns that because standards are not firm, he can manipulate around the rules. Okay, so these children grow up to be adults who don't follow any rules, don't respect authority, that kind of thing. So the fourth type of parent that we actually should strive to be, in my opinion, is loving and firm. So it's kind of a mixture of all of these together. Okay, loving and firm parents usually have clear, defined rules. They have limits. They have standards. They take time to train their children and understand these limits, like why we don't carve love notes on the neighbor's tree and give warnings when a child is transgressed. Okay, so you explain why, not because you want your child to understand every little thing, and you're making excuses or you're making reasons for why you do everything, but so your child has a true understanding of why you don't do things. Back to the example of whenever Slade took the rocks from our neighbor's yard, I could have just punished him and told him, hey, you know what? You stole. That's not right. You're punished. You lose such and such and such. But instead, we stopped. We talked about it. We talked about, the things that are important to him. How would he feel if I came and took his things? And especially if I broke them, how would he feel? So helping him to understand what it is that happened that was wrong, what it is that he should have done, and then how to move forward from here. Okay, these types of parents, they give support by expressing physical affection and spending personal time listening to each child. I do find sometimes that we don't listen to our kids. We pretend that we do, and okay, that's fine. Yeah. And then they end up doing something. We're like, oh, we didn't tell you could do that. It's just because we're not truly listening, or we're there, but we're not truly in the present with them. Here are some typical statements and actions by loving and firm parents. You're late again for dinner, Tiger. How can we work this out together? Okay, parents spend time working out solutions with the child. Hey, I wish that you could stay up later, but we agreed on this time. Remember what you're like the next day if you miss sleep? When we're both done, let's cool off and talk about what needs to be done. Okay, these are statements that my parents used whenever they were raising us. I remember my dad actually did an entire series about music. And because, my sisters and I and brother wanted to listen to secular music and things like that. And we didn't understand this wasn't a bad message, or this one, I don't see anything wrong with it. I don't hear anything wrong with it. There's no cussing. There's no, explicit words and topics and stuff. And so my dad actually sat us down and let us listen to different clips about things. And we had the words printed out, and we talked about it. We talked about the beat. We talked about the words. And there were actually some songs that were not on the Christian station that were okay. So he taught us how to be our own meter for that. Listen to the words, listen to the intent of what it was created for, listen to the beat. Is it something that's pleasing? Is it something that's true, that's honest, that's pure, that's of a good report? Just bouncing it back against the Bible and the principles that are in there, and then making a decision for ourselves. Instead of saying, no, you can't listen to any country music or rap music or this or this or this. You have to listen to Christian music. Well, guess what? As soon as we got cars, we would turn it on something different, just simply because now we had a choice. Until, even to this day, I will listen to other types of music besides Christian music. I like a bunch of different kinds, but I'm going to use that information that my dad taught me, even as a kid, of, okay, this song's probably not promoting something that's positive or something that I want to be putting into my mind and my ears, so I'm going to change it. Not because somebody's telling me to, I'm an adult, but because I want to follow through and to listen to things that are pure and that are good. Okay, so here are some typical characteristics of a child who has loving and firm parents. The warm support and clearly defined limits tend to build self-esteem with the child. A child is more content when he's learned to control himself. His world is more secure when he realizes there are limits, which are unbending, and he understands why. Because the spirit of a child is not closed, the lines of communication are open with the parents, there's less of the rebellious teen years. So if you're not looking forward to the teen years and you're expecting them to be really bad with your child, start implementing some of these principles now to see if you can maybe shorten that time. Children from loving and firm parents ranked highest in self-respect, capacity to conform to authority at school and church, greater interest in their parents' faith in God, and greater tendency not to join a rebellious group. Okay, so in wrapping this up today on this Word Up Wednesday episode, the two most important factors in raising kids. 1, establish clearly defined and understood rules in the home. Limits that the child know that they cannot violate without some type of consequence. So here are the rules in our house. This is how we do the things in our house. If you don't follow the rules, this happens. If you do follow the rules, this happens. And secondly, a commitment to love each other, a commitment to love each child in a warm, affectionate, and supportive way. So go ahead and commit that you're going to spend time with your child, that you're going to really listen to your child, that you're going to be available emotionally and physically for your child so that they can grow into loving and caring adults. So hopefully this has helped you. Today we talked about the 4 different kinds of parenting, and I'm sure that we can all put ourselves at some point in some time, depending on what was going on with us, into one of these 4 categories or all the 4 categories. Okay, so, but I'm going to make a commitment today that I am working on being the best parent that I can be, to establish those boundaries for our kids, to make sure that I'm giving them enough of my time, even though I work quite a few hours per week, as well as run my own blog. As you know, I really have to carve out that time for my kids because they are important. They're very important. So hopefully this helped you today. If you know any other parents that you think that could benefit from this episode today, please feel free to share. Also, make sure you like and follow my page. It's Full on Purpose on Instagram. It's Becky Williams - Full on Purpose on Facebook. And of course, we have our website, which is www.fullonpurpose.com. Check it out. There's recipes, there's essential oil information, there's parenting information, there's inspiration. Pretty soon I'm going to have the beauty hacks tab up there. It's not up there yet, but go check it out. I'm adding new content every day. So thank you. God bless. And I will see you next Wednesday on Word Up Wednesday.